Today we're painting up some Native American skirmishers for Black Powder Epic Battles Revolution. We'll paint on some lovely details on these models, from feathers and face paint, through to a mixture of clothing and equipment. So there's plenty of room to have some fun with the colours for this one. The minis were first glued into position on the bases, before sand was applied around their feet to build up the ground. Once everything was dry, it was given a primer coat of Army Painter Oak Brown. With the primer dry, we can start picking at the texture on the base. First, onyx skin was dry brushed over the base to pick out the sand and bring out the texture. Don't worry if you get any onto the miniature itself, because we'll paint them next. So you can afford to be a little bit messy at this stage. We then used Paratrooper Tan to pick out some of the larger pieces of sand, which will help these areas stand out as small rocks or stones on the base. Now we'll move on to the miniatures themselves. This time we're going to use the dry brush in a slightly different way to how we used for the basing. Using Fur Brown, load up the brush with a little more paint than you would normally, and then work most of this off onto your hand. This leaves the brush with enough paint to buff the colour onto the miniature, rather than simply catching the very edges with a traditional dry brush. Because these are epic scale miniatures, we're not looking to carefully paint every facial feature. Instead, this technique will catch the raised areas of the sculpt and give us a quick, warm base colour across the skin. It also means when we come back later to pick out some detail, we've already got a little bit of shading in place. Next, we'll pick out the wooden parts of the weapons, using Banshee Brown for the rifle stocks and small hand axes. Take a little care around the hands and the skin here, but don't worry if some of that Banshee Brown strays onto them, as we can go back to Fur Brown and tidy up those areas afterwards. For the lighter off-white clothing, Grey Castle gives us a nice muted starting colour. This is particularly useful on these models because we're going to introduce quite a few stronger colours elsewhere, and we'll give this a bit of shading later on. We'll also pick out these feathers as well. The hair, along with the upper parts of the feathers we've just painted, are picked out using Ironclad Grey. These feathers are one of those details that can really catch the eye on the tabletop. So we'll do a couple of varieties on this band of warriors today. Moving down to the shoes and the leggings, some were painted with Prairie Ochre, another was left Oak Brown. At this point, it's worth remembering that these weren't soldiers wearing standard issue uniform. Clothing could come from a variety of sources and could be made, traded, purchased or acquired locally. So there's plenty of scope to introduce different colours across the unit. Such as green leggings. Guardian Green was used for some green leggings and loincloths. This gives us another splash of colour without making the miniature look too bright overall. Because we're working on a skirmish unit, having different coloured garments across the figures will actually make the group feel more natural once they're based together. Let's make one of our Indians stand out, and we'll paint a blue shirt for this one. Imperial Navy will give us a strong, dark starting colour. Clothing worn by Native American warriors during this period could include European-made textiles, which were widely traded throughout North America. And painting a nice spot colour like this is a great way to represent that, rather than painting every miniature identically. For instance, like this red clothing. And this was painted with Dragon Red. We also picked out a few feathers on this head also. These brighter colours are going to stand out particularly well once the shading and highlights have been added. So don't worry if they look a little bold at this stage. Before moving on, Oak Brown was used to tidy up any of the bags, belts and leggings that do not have a colour assigned to them already. This is one of those useful stages where it's worth taking a moment to look over the miniature as a whole. Rather than worrying about any mistakes as we go, this is an opportunity to clean up those base coats and getting everything to look nice and neat before the shading stage. The gun stocks and barrels for the rifles, as well as the head of the small hand axes, were picked out using plate mail metal. And Native American warriors fighting alongside European powers could be equipped with firearms as part of the trade networks that had existed in North America. Now we can start bringing some depth into the colours. A warm skin tone wash is applied over all of the skin, allowing it to settle into the recesses, especially on the miniatures that only have a small amount of clothing on them. At this scale, even a simple wash makes a big difference, helping these sculpted features stand out without needing to paint individual eyes or tiny facial features. The same warm skin tone can also be heavily thinned down with water and applied over the lighter clothing and bags. This gives us a very subtle shade without turning the grey castle colour too dark. The trick here is to keep it thin. We're really just tinting the surface and allowing the paint to collect naturally in the recesses. Paratrooper tan is used for the horns and some of the smaller wrist straps. And with this you might want to move on to a fine detail brush. As these details are being painted after the skin has already been shaded, there's no need to go over them with another highlight later, as it's already quite a bright colour. It keeps things nice and simple. Now comes the stage where the miniature really starts to come together. A strong tone wash is applied across quite a few areas, including the metal and wooden parts of the weapons. However, a more precise shading is added to the blue clothing, leggings, the lighter grey castle clothing, and bags. We're allowing the shade to settle into the folds and the areas where the light naturally wouldn't reach as much, rather than covering absolutely everything. So we'll be a little more selective with some of the clothing. And there we have it. At this point, the Native American skirmishers are ready for the tabletop, and you could move on to the basing stage next. However, if you've got a little more time to spend on them, let's take these miniatures one step further and move into the details, then let's finish off with the basing. Let's start with the skin using a ruddy umber. This time we'll focus more on the raised areas of the skin, such as the head and the prominent muscles. These sculpts have some great definition, especially for miniatures at this scale. So picking out those raised areas will really help bring these figures to life. And these guys are pretty ripped, so there's plenty of muscle definition to work with. Now for one of the more characterful details on the miniatures, the face paint. We'll be using both Grey Castle and Dragon Red here. And a few simple markings are added to the faces. And because these are epic scale models, don't worry about trying to create incredibly complicated patterns. A few simple lines or block colours are more than enough to make the face paint visible when viewing the miniature from a couple of feet away. Next up, we'll highlight some of the clothing. For the blue clothing, this was highlighted using royal blue. Concentrate this mainly on the raised folds and upper areas of the cloth, including the shoulders, allowing the darker imperial navy that we painted before to remain in the recesses. The same approach is used on the red clothing. This time we're using Blood Chalice. This is a nice example of how just one highlight colour can really transform a darker base coat. Now let's bring some of the definition back into the equipment that he's carrying. The bags that were tidied up earlier with oak brown can be given a lighter highlight of mud spatter. This helps bring out the raised areas and adds a little more definition to the leather. while the more traditional leather-coloured bags were picked out with prairie ochre. This extra contrast helps these smaller areas pop a little more at epic scale, when viewing them across the tabletop. If you want to push the models a little further, some simple lines can be added to the clothing, along with a few tiny spots of colour on the bags, and this will add a bit more character. For these miniatures, keeping these patterns simple is definitely the way to go. At this scale, a couple of well-placed lines will read much better than trying to paint incredibly intricate designs. Whilst other colours could be used to suggest stitching, decoration, or even small items attached to the equipment. Once the miniatures were finished, it was time to wrap up with the basing. For these bases, we're going to use the same method shown in the Hessian Jaeger painting tutorial from our Revolution playlist here on the channel. However, this time, we're going to push the idea of woodland skirmishers a little further. So we'll suggest they're moving through woodland and scrub, common across much of the American theatre, with a mixture of rough ground, vegetation, and scattered rocks underfoot. By adding a few dry twigs and small pieces of tree root, these were fixed into position using tacky glue. With a quick and colourful finish, our Native American skirmishers are ready for the tabletop. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next hobby tutorial.